أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي واجعلني وزيرا من أهلي هارون أخي واشدد به أزري واشركه في أمري كي نسبحك كثيرا ونذكرك كثيرا إنك كنت بنا بصيرا وصلى اللهم على محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين والحمد لله رب العالمين. Assalamu alaikum everyone. Inshallah we are continuing with the Raise the Shining Proof second station, which is on page 613 in my book. So, and the screen, hopefully everybody can see that. So, yep. So here we go. And we were studying basically some details about the significance of the tashahhud and how it relates to the ascension that we know about the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, and how we can commemorate that with the way we are in our lives here while we are praying as well and understanding of the universe, what we understand from why we are here in this world, our existence, making sense of that and make our conclusions based on that understanding. And of course, along our journeys, we have seen that how we are benefiting from our existence in terms of our feelings. We have the guidance, which is the scriptures from the Lord of the universe, and we have the message of the prophets. And we all benefit from all of those different things, avenues. And of course, we have to use our consciousness, our free will, align that accordingly with the guidance that we receive, and really acknowledge why and fulfill our purpose of existence here. So we'll continue that journey, and that's how, a brief summary of how this, at least these classes that we attend and the author that we're following brings into our understanding our true purpose of being in this world. So let's go to the fourth sacred word. So the fourth sacred word is good words, all are God's. Al-Tayyibat Lillah. So Al-Tayyibat Lillah, good words, all are God's. Since many of the truths of the Risale-e-Nur have been imparted to me while reciting the Tasbihat, following the prayers, quite simply I have been driven involuntarily to explain by means of brief indications the truths associated with both Surah Al-Fatiha and the words of the Tashahhud. I have been driven involuntarily to explain by means of brief indications the truths associated with both Surah Al-Fatiha and the words of the Tashahhud. So whatever is recited and explained or said in the Surah Al-Fatiha, Alhamdulillah, all praise is due to God and Him alone, Lord of the universe, Master of the Day of Judgment. So whatever is mentioned in that as a summary, so many authors and commentators say that also about the Surah Al-Fatiha being a summary of what we are here for, and also the Tashahhud. So there's a correlation between what the words of the Tashahhud imply and also our gratefulness and expression and our prayers in terms of seeking guidance from the Lord of the universe. and being on the straight path, as the Surah Al-Fatiha implies. That is also how that ascension or mini ascension for us in our prayers and when we are reciting the tashahhud can take place in that similar fashion, at least theoretically, but practically is, of course, we have to think about this a little more deeply on how, based on our experiences that we go through and whatever the different qualities that we experience and we benefit from. So as me as a human being, I find myself in need of many different things. I go and drink water, I eat food, and I go to walk. I enjoy the the air outside. I enjoy looking at the sunrise. So all those things are displaying something. So somebody, the universe, and the one who has given existence to that is communicating with me. Now I have to respond that in a way appropriate that a human being ought to respond. And that is how that communication and responding back to my Lord, as we've taught to us by the practice of the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, and the beautiful gift of prayer that we have received, is the opportunity for us to respond back and communicate to our Lord. So the sacred word, good words, which was spoken during Muhammad's peace and blessings be upon him ascension, refers to the good words and deeds and worship of those with knowledge of God and the believers, and of men, jinn, angels, and spirit beings, who possess universal consciousness with which they beautify the universe. So the sacred word, good words, which was spoken during Muhammad's peace and blessings be upon him ascension, refers to the good words and deeds and worship of those with knowledge of God and the believers, of men, jinn, and angels and spirit beings, who possess universal consciousness with which they beautify the universe. And I recall from the last discussion, we did discuss this phrase, that human beings who possess universal consciousness with which they beautify the universe. So everything in the universe, there was an example given by Brother Ali about the musical notes. I just recall that, alhamdulillah, that everything in the universe is just like a material being, it's a note, but then human beings are like playing the instrument. As the musician would play those notes, the human beings, conscious human beings, would see the qualities in that particular material thing and glorify the one who has made it and given it those qualities and recognize those qualities. That's what we discussed extensively, I think, last time. So anybody can go and refer to the previous discussion on that. They look to the world of beauties and understand fully the infinite beauties of the eternally absolute beauteous one. And the perpetual beauties of his names. The perpetual, so continuous beauties of his names. Perpetual beauties, which adorn the universe, and they respond to them, conscious beings, respond to them with passion and ardor and universal worship. Universal worship. So conscious human beings adorn the universe, which adorn the universe, and they respond to them, to whatever they experience and see in the universe with passion and ardor and universal worship. So we can come to that. I would like to ask our friends here how this, if they want to talk on the the response with passion and ardor and universal worship, how the universality works in this worship as me along with the rest of the universe. So this word refers to the endless good words they utter to their creator through the fragrant odors of their shining belief. This word refers to the endless good words they utter to their creator through the fragrant odors of their shining belief. So I suppose at-tayyibat is the word, at-tayyibat lillah, good words we respond back. So this word refers to the endless good words they utter to their creator through the fragrant odors of their shining belief. I like this analogy of the fragrant odors of their shining belief as a fruit or as a result of their whatever they're concluding from their experience. Extensive knowledge of him and praise and laudation. Since good words in this meaning were spoken during the ascension. Good words in this meaning were spoken during the ascension. Every day without wearing, the whole Ummah repeats that sacred word in the Tashahhud. Yes, the universe is the mirror of an infinite, sempiternal beauty and loveliness, and consists of manifestations of it. All the beauties and perfections of the universe come from that eternal beauty and become beautiful through their connection with it and increase in value. All the beauties and perfections of the universe come from that eternal beauty and become beautiful through their connection with it and increase in value. Connection with that eternal beauty and increase in value, and that's how it increases in value. The universe would otherwise be a ruin, a house of sorrows, a place of utter confusion. Their connection with that beauty is understood through the knowledge and affirmation of men, angels, and spirit beings. Their connection with that beauty is understood through the knowledge and affirmation of men, angels, and spirit beings, who are the heralds and announcers of the sovereignty of the Godhead. Who are the heralds and announcers of the sovereignty of the Godhead. Their connection with that beauty is understood through the knowledge and affirmation of men, angels, and spirit beings who are the heralds. So the conscious beings are the heralds and announcers of the sovereignty of the Godhead. It was even imparted to me that there is a strong possibility that in order to broadcast everywhere the beautiful, sweet praise and laudation of those heralds, and their extolling the one they worship, and to send them up to the sublime throne and present those good words at the divine court. The element of the air has been given a truly strange and wondrous state, whereby its particles, like soldiers under orders, are minuscule tongues and ears. It was even imparted to me that there is a strong possibility that in order to broadcast everywhere the beautiful, sweet praise and laudation of those heralds and their extolling the one they worship, and to send them up, how to send them up to the sublime throne. So, and present those good words at the divine court. So I'm presenting those good words at the divine court. The element of the air has been given a truly strange and wondrous state. The element of the air has been given a truly strange and wondrous state, whereby its particles, like soldiers under orders, are minuscule tongues and ears. Thus, just as through their belief and their worship, man and the angels make known the all-glorious, all-worshipped one. Man and the angels make known the all-glorious, all-worshipped one. So we have the same duty. So through making each of those announcers a microcosm connected to the whole universe, through the comprehensive capacities, wondrous faculties, and subtleties of knowledge he has given them, that all glorious and wise one makes himself known in brilliant fashion. For example, he shows himself as clearly as the sun by creating numerous wonderful machines in a space the size of a walnut in man's tiny head, such as his faculties of memory, imagination, and thought. In a space the size of a walnut in man's tiny head, the faculties of memory, imagination, and thought, and by making his memory into a large library. The footnote says, my severe illness does not permit me to continue. This is only a source and assistant to Husra's duty of translation. So based on some comments from the author when he was writing this with his understanding and with his experience. At this stage, would anybody like to say anything or make any comment to what has been read? I mean, it seems to be straightforward in terms of how human beings are endowed with all the faculties, the qualities in terms of they're conscious and they can make, they're vocal, they can speak, and then they can understand what is going on in the universe, and they can affirm, and they can be the heralds and announcers of that sovereignty. Yeah, Brother Ali, please go ahead.
I think in this text, the fundamental concept is universal worship, ardent universal worship. So at the beginning of those people, worship of those people who appreciate the beautiful names manifested on the things, on creation, here in manifested in the creation of everything. I think if we understand why this is a universal worship, which describes the what was the term? Let me see. For الطيبات. Yeah, good words. All are God's. الطيبات لله. So what does it mean? The good words are those words spoken by people who are presenting their universal worship. It's not difficult to understand if I'm right, if I am on the right track of understanding it. Why it is not difficult? Because if someone appreciates the qualities manifested in the creation, this anyone who does this will definitely be aware that all the qualities wherever we see manifested are manifested universally. So the good word means, doesn't say, for example, this part of the creation is beautiful, but the other part is meaningless, not beautiful, ugly. It's not beautified really, but it is not a universal word. Because if we are going to communicate with the creator of the whole universe, the creator of the whole universe must have the same qualities manifested all over the universe. This needs to be acknowledged so that the beauty of the creation will become even more beautiful because of this communication. But this communication from human side must be complete of course, as a created being, as the manifestation is complete all over the universe. So, الطيبات لله, all these good words means those people who appreciate these qualities manifested at the universal level and responded back to the creator at the universal level. That's why it is called universal. Although the agent of the spoken language is one person, but this person, he or she, includes all the universe in his or her understanding, consciousness, that not only me saying that the creator must be a wise one, beautifying one, and all-powerful one. Why? Because everything is accompanying this person's consciousness, understanding in his capacity, in his memory, that, look, not only me saying that God, the creator, the owner of the universe is a wise creator, but every single being in the world, declares that every single being in his consciousness, in his memory, every single being says, my creator is the wise creator, declaring his wisdom in its existence. That becomes, although the person is one person, but in his consciousness, in his memory, he is presenting the worship of everything in the universe to its creator, and establishing a communication between the creator of the universe, owner of the universe, and everything in his understanding. This communication in the capacity of this person becomes a universal worship. He is not saying, I worship you. He is saying, everything worships you. Everything declares your glory. Everything declares your being a sublime being. I think this tayyibat is the highest level of at-tahiyyatu, al-mubarakatu, as-salawatu, and then at-tayyibat, because at tayyibat level, it becomes a universal worship. Now, that is the human essential. every individual, if we are aware of what we are really saying or uttering while we are sitting in the tashahhud, at-tayyibatu lillah, all those people who acknowledge their universal worship and presented their universal worship, all belongs to you. It means their word is now addressed to you, nothing else, cannot be attributed or addressed to anything else. Thank you.
Thank you, Brother Ali. My goodness, mashallah, the consciousness of when we are doing the tashahhud is necessary when we pray, inshallah, to get to this level of understanding. At-tayyatu lillah. So, I mean, yeah, at-tayyatu lillah, salawat, barakat, wa salawat, wa tayyibat. Lillah. So at this stage, yeah, consciousness has to really recognize this is something that I think needs to be worked on, and recognize that the whole universe is being taken care of just along with myself. And my ardor and passion has to be aroused and ignited a little bit, or a lot more than what it is, inshallah, one step at a time. Okay, so anybody else would like to say anything? Okay, so we'll continue, inshallah, with this last paragraph on this page. We shall now allude to a very brief meaning of the Arabic piece mentioned above, which points out universal proofs of all-encompassing knowledge. Comprises innumerable proofs, bringing them together and making them one extensive proof, and demonstrates all-encompassing knowledge through 15 evidences. We shall give a sort of translation of the piece. All right, let's see what that is. The first of 15 evidences, the balanced order. The balanced order. The measured regularity and balanced order observed in all creatures testify to an all-encompassing knowledge. The measured regularity and balanced order observed in all creatures testify to an all-encompassing knowledge. Yes, their being in all things from the universe, which resembles an orderly palace, and the solar system, and the page of the air, whose particles display an astonishing order in the broadcasting of words and sounds. 1 second, please. Yes, their being in all things from the universe, which resembles an orderly palace, and the solar system, and the page of the air, whose particles display an astonishing order in the broadcasting of words and sounds, and the face of the earth, which every spring with perfect order and regularity raises 300,000 different species. To the members, cells, particles, and bodily systems of all living beings, a balanced order and perfect regularity, which are the works of a profound, comprehensive, unfailing knowledge, means that they testify in extremely clear and decisive manner to an all-encompassing knowledge. So whatever the display we see around us in the universe, everything is testifying and declaring, it shows to the conscious human beings a balanced order and perfect regularity. And of course, if we look at it, we don't say that it's coming from the thing itself. The solar system is not running by the solar system itself, or the sun is not shining by itself. The earth is not revolving, rotating by itself. But they are all subjugated, and all this motion, regularity, this movement is happening through a balance and regularity. So the universe is giving us that evidence, how the balance, that if we look at the balance in the universe, and the way we may say it's the order, but the order is also not the one that's doing it. But the order is also run by the one who has establishes the order, and it's a continuous change that is being observed. So the second evidence, and regular balance. So the balanced order and regular balance is the second evidence. In all the creatures in the universe, particular, universal, from the planets to the red and white corpuscles and blood, in everything, there is an exceedingly orderly measure and appropriate balance which point self-evidently to an all-encompassing knowledge and testify to it decisively. Yes, we see, for instance, that the members and bodily systems of a fly or a human being, and even the cells of the body and the red and white corpuscles in the blood, are placed with so sensitive a balance and fine a measure, and they are so fitting and suitable for each other, so fitting and suitable for each other, and their mutual proportion with the other members of the body is so orderly, and they are in such harmony with them, that it is in no way possible that one lacking infinite knowledge could have given them those situations. It is in no way possible that one lacking infinite knowledge could have given them those situations. Similarly, a balance so perfect and measure so regular and unfailing, a balance so perfect and measure so regular and unfailing, govern in all living creatures and source of creatures, from minute particles to the planets of the solar system, that they prove conclusively an all-encompassing knowledge and testify to it with complete clarity. A balance so perfect and measure so regular and unfailing, govern in all living creatures and sorts of creatures, from minute particles to the planets of the solar system, that they prove conclusively an all-encompassing knowledge and testify to it with complete clarity, testify to that balance and perfect measure with complete clarity. This means that all the evidences for knowledge are evidences also for the existence of the all-knowing one, since it is impossible and precluded that there should be an attribute without the one it qualifies. It is impossible and precluded that there should be an attribute without the one it qualifies. All the proofs of knowledge form a powerful and completely certain supreme proof of the pre-eternal, all-knowing one's necessary existence. So here also, as we observe the universe and pay attention to it, we can observe the regular balance and harmony regularity, which shows the signs of evidences of knowledge that there is an all-knowing one. So the one who knows must know what if you see something that is made, the one who made it must definitely know about it. The third evidence, and the general purposeful wisdom. In all the creativity and activity in the universe, and in all the changes, raising to life, employing in duties and discharging from them, all creatures and all species of creatures have functions, uses, and purposes which are so intentional and knowing that they leave no room for chance. All species of creatures have functions, uses, and purposes which are so intentional and knowing that they leave no room for chance. We see that with respect to creation, one who does not possess all encompassing knowledge, could in no way lay claim to any of them. For example, although it is only a piece of flesh, together with its two main functions, the tongue, which is one of man's 100 members, man being only one of innumerable animate creatures, is the means to hundreds of instances of wisdom, results, fruits, and uses. Its functions of tasting foods. Oh yeah, we're all aware of that one. Its functions of tasting food, recognizing all their different savors, informing the body and the stomach, being an exacting inspector of the kitchens of divine mercy, and an accurate interpreter and telephone exchange for the heart, spirit, and mind in the function of speech. Yep. All point in most brilliant and decisive manner to all-encompassing knowledge. Perhaps this may be less thought of inspector of the kitchens of divine mercy and an accurate interpreter and telephone means of communication for the heart, spirit, and mind in the function of speech. All point in most brilliant and decisive manner to all-encompassing knowledge. If through its purposes and fruits, a single tongue furnishes such evidence. So the purpose of the single tongue is not just to satisfy the stomach and eat the food or just speak, but there has to be a connection in recognizing who is giving that ability to taste, who is giving that ability to speak, and it's a means for communication back and responding back. And there's at-tayyibat to the one who is entertaining us here. If through its purposes and fruits a single tongue furnishes such evidence, innumerable tongues and innumerable living beings, infinite creatures, point to and testify to an infinite knowledge with the clarity and certainty of the noonday sun. They proclaim that there is nothing at all outside the bounds of the knowledge of the one all-knowing, of the unseen, or outside his wisdom and will. So everything in the universe has a tongue in their own way, just like the tree or the fruit or plants, animals, insects, so everything in creation. Innumerable tongues and innumerable living beings, infinite creatures point to and testify to an infinite knowledge. They all testify to the infinite knowledge. They proclaim that there is nothing at all outside the bounds of the knowledge of the One, all-knowing of the unseen, or outside his wisdom and will. All right, so I will continue with the fourth evidence. And anybody can just interrupt me at any time if something stands out or you feel we need to go over something. So everything, you guys are all welcome to do that, inshallah. So the fourth evidence, and all embracing particular favors. All embracing particular favors. The favors and instances of compassion and protection bestowed on all living creatures in the world of conscious beings, on every species and individual, particularly and appropriately, point self-evidently to an all-encompassing knowledge and offer innumerable testimonies to the necessary existence of one gracious and all-knowing who knows those who receive the favors and their needs. One who knows those who receive the favors and their needs. Note the explanation of the words of the Arabic piece, which is the summary of the essence of the Risale-i-Nur, indicates the truths which the Risale-i-Nur, being distilled from the Quran, has taken from the flashes of Quranic verses, and particularly the proofs and evidences for knowledge, will, and power. For the Risale-i-Nur expounds the scholarly proofs which the Arabic words indicate. This means that rather than being elucidations, explanations, and translations of those Arabic words, each of these scholarly proofs explains an indication and fine point made by numerous Quranic verses. So rather than being elucidations, explanations, and translations of those Arabic words, each of these scholarly proofs explains an indication and fine point made by numerous Quranic verses. So to return to our main question, yes, with our own eyes, we see that there is an all-knowing and compassionate one who knows us and all beings with spirits, and knowing them protects them and knows all their needs and plaints. And knowing them protects them and knows all their needs and plaints. And knowing them comes to their assistance with his favors. One out of numberless examples, the general and particular favors bestowed on men as sustenance, medicines, and the minerals he needs point most clearly to an all-encompassing knowledge. Sustenance, medicines, and the minerals he needs point most clearly to an all-encompassing knowledge. Offering testimonies to a most merciful and compassionate one, to the number of foods, medicines, and minerals. Yes, wise and purposive works, like the feeding of man, and particularly of the helpless and infants, and especially their conveying from the kitchen of the stomach the nutrients necessary for all their members and even their cells. Wow. And the mountains being pharmacies and stores of all the minerals necessary for man. The mountains being pharmacies and stores of all the minerals necessary for man could only occur through an all-encompassing knowledge. Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, the one who knows me must know my needs, must know what I, as a person I need, must know what the whole universe needs, everybody included, every being included. Aimless chance, blind force, deaf nature, and lifeless unconscious causes, and the simple, overwhelming elements could in no way interfere in this feeding, administering, preservation, and planning, which is knowing, percipient, wise, compassionate, and gracious. Aimless chance, blind force, deaf nature, and lifeless, unconscious causes. You're right, the mountains or the minerals, they don't know me to come to my aid, or the flower doesn't have to reflect it on myself or tell me about itself. The sun doesn't have to shine, doesn't know me also. But I need the sun. So who's organizing and arranging all that for me? So the distribution of minerals, my stomach, okay, it's within me, but I don't know what's going on in there. Who's controlling all the, the blood flow, the respiratory systems, the digestive system, the distribution of the nutrients. It's a pretty difficult job. I mean, mashallah. So one can realize how we are taken care of and how grateful a human being has to be with all the blessings, that gifts that we are constantly receiving. And obviously, there's no room for any blind chance, deaf nature, because they don't know me. How can they come to my aid? Somebody must employ them to come to me. So apparent causes such as those are merely employed and utilized within the bounds of the knowledge and wisdom of one possessing absolute knowledge, and utilized within the bounds of the knowledge and wisdom of one possessing absolute knowledge, and at his command and with his permission, as a veil to the dignity of divine power. All right, I'll pause here if anybody wants to make any comment before I go to the fifth one. These proofs are pretty self-explanatory, I would say also, but we have to feel that with our feelings to really truly understand that indeed there is, to come to the conclusions. I mean, this was a powerful one, how the nutrients, kitchen of the stomach, the nutrients necessary for all their members and even their cells. Yeah, and we all get benefit from all different plants, herbs, minerals, Himalayan salt, mountains, and this contains many nutrients. It's one of the superfoods nowadays. There's one that comes in every few months. But we never recognize where that bounty, or who is the origin, who is giving that to us, the true owner, or the true arranger, the true provider. And we fail into maybe the lifeless, unconscious causes. and miss out on the recognition of the one who is the true bestower, the one who knows and is employing all these things for me to take care of my needs. All right, the fifth and sixth evidences. So they're combining the fifth and sixth evidences. And the regular decrees and fruitful determining. The forms and proportions of all things, particularly plants, trees, animals, and men, have been cut out with skillful art according to the principles of divine decree and determining, which are the two sources of pre-eternal knowledge, sown in a way entirely appropriate to the stature of each, which are two sources of pre-eternal knowledge. The forms and proportions of all things, particularly plants, trees, animals, and men, have been cut out with skillful art, according to the principles of divine decree and determining, which are two sources of pre-eternal knowledge. So divine decree and determining are a sort of pre-eternal knowledge, sown in a way entirely appropriate to the stature of each, and clothed on them perfectly. Each is given most well-ordered, regular, and wise shapes. Well-ordered, regular, and wise shapes. These singly and altogether point to an infinite knowledge and testify to their number to an all-knowing Maker. Yes, out of innumerable examples, we look at only a single tree and a human individual. And we see that both outwardly and inwardly, the fruit-bearing tree and multi-membered man have been delimited by unseen compasses and a subtle pen of knowledge. So they're delimited by unseen, so measurements have been given to both the outward and inward. But we can we have to recognize that. We are able to recognize that. And a subtle pen of knowledge, and that each of their members have been given perfectly ordered fitting forms so that they may produce the required fruits and results and perform the duties of their natures. Each of their members have been given perfectly ordered fitting forms so that they may produce the required fruits and results and perform the duties of their natures. As for this, since it could occur only through infinite knowledge, they testify to the number of plants and animals, to the necessary existence and boundless knowledge of a maker and giver of form, an all-knowing determiner, who knows the relationships of everything with everything else, and keeps these in view, and knows the definition through the compasses and pen of the decree, and determining of pre-eternal knowledge of the outsides and insides of their fellow men and fellow trees and their species, and of their measured proportions and form, and they testify to the one who does this. So all the shapes and forms and how something turns out to be is all within eternal knowledge, what the results are, what the fruits are. Each and everything is particularly, uniquely ordered as it's supposed to be. wise shape, regular, well ordered. It shows that the one who is forming them, resulting in their however they're developing, is an all-knowing one, has no knowledge of them. So one can come to the understanding of the maker and giver of form. And as they change, they're changing, all-knowing determiner along with it. At every moment of form, and their being is determined accordingly. And all the relationships, everything with everything else, is established and is known. All happens through the pen of decree and determining, of pre-eternal knowledge, both the outsides and insides of fellow men and fellow trees as examples, and everything in the universe. All right, so any comment from this particular piece? We are at time though, but yeah, so I think we can stop here, but if anybody would like to, I think these are very beautiful evidences, experiential and straightforward, in how we can live in this universe and experience all this. All right. Going once, going twice. Anybody who would like to say anything?
I think the text is clear, and you read it beautifully slowly so that we could follow. This is self-evident, actually, signs of those qualities manifested here that we cannot really attribute to anything else but to the owner of the universe. So I didn't feel, for example, there is a special term here that we need to pay attention. It is clearly written, and we followed it, I think. Thank you. You also read it beautifully. Thank you very much.
Alhamdulillah, that's very good to hear. Yeah, it is pretty, I mean, yeah, straightforward and easy to understand. Alhamdulillah for the understanding we're all receiving. All right, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Subhanaka la ilma lana illa ma 'allamtana innaka antal alimul hakim. Akhiru da'wana alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen.